Alright, let's get into the first hand. We have Ace Jack suited in the big blind. There's a total of 5 limpers. We make it $30 and under the gun 1 and button call, so we go 3 ways to a flop. And yeah, this is the theme of the session. I think once we get heads up, but apart from that, it's 3 ways plus. So yeah, let's see the flop. Flop comes King 8-2. So we don't hit, but we have a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. So I like this board to c-bet, and they limp, so they could just have plenty of just hands that wanted to see a flop and now just going to give up. So we c-bet for $30 and only under the gun 1 call. Turn is a jack, so now we have second pair. I was planning on continuation betting on any diamond, an ace, and that's about it, since it was under the gun 1 that called and he was next to act with another person left to talk as well. So that's stronger. If he would have folded and button would have called, I probably would have barreled at any card that gave me a gut shot. But now that we have showdown value and he was next to act and he called, I check and he bets $200. That is huge. Didn't make that much sense to me, but I've never played against this guy before. And yeah, he called next to act, so I felt like he had something decent. And there's not that many draws, so I decided just to fold and move on to the next hand. Now we are in the button with pocket eights. Low jack makes it 15, older man, pretty tight, so I'm happy just to call and play in position. That's what I do, and big blind calls as well. Flop comes 9-4-5, so not the worst. I think we're good, a decent amount, until the big blind just donk bets $50, so who knows. Low jack now calls. That definitely feels strong, and yeah, not much to do here. We just fold. Let's see if we can get the first pot of the session with ace jack off in the low jack. Under the gun limps, we make it 15, and the button, big blind, and under the gun calls. We got 4 ways to a flop that comes 5 high. It checks to us, we check, button bets $30, big blind calls, and we fold. Next hand, we have king queen suited in under the gun 1. We make it $12 and we get under the gun 2, low jack, button, and big blind to call, so 5 ways to a flop. Finally, we see a beautiful flop of, just joking, it comes 5-7-4 rainbow. So we check, under the gun 2 makes it 35, low jack calls, button calls, and our big blind goes all in for 110. So, at least it's an action table that I'm very happy with. Hopefully we could get something soon. We fold. With that hand, we're a little over an hour in the session and we're down about 200, and that just happens when you just get hands and can't hit and just playing 4 or 5 ways. It's just very hard to try to take down the pot with bluffs. I think I just got to play super straight up. So in these spots, I just got to hit a hand, and it hasn't been happening yet. So hopefully it happens pretty soon. And it looks promising when our next hand is pocket kings. Things are even better since there's a button straddle of $6. Under the limps, we make it 30. And out of small blind, the guy that looks like an old man coffee, but he's completely the opposite. He was one of the biggest maniacs in these games. He 3-bets to just $60, so double my raise. And now it falls to under the gun, and he goes all in for $330. And this is nasty because under the gun is a very tight player. So when these guys limp and go all in on top of a 3-bet, it's just so strong. It just really seems like aces. I was feeling a little better since he took a second to think about it, as if he was deciding if he should just call since it's a 3-bet. And I don't think he was acting, so I'm just hoping, okay, it could be queens maybe, or ace king. And I'm not folding kings pre-flop to just like a little over 100 blinds. So I call, and the small blind calls all as well. So we're gonna go 3 ways, all in. Let's see the run out. Flop comes 8-9 jack, turn is a 6, and river is a 5. So the flush comes in, small blind shows ace queen off, so we're beating that. Now under the gun starts laughing and flips over kings as well. So yeah, we chop with kings against kings, but at least it's a decent pot since we're chopping up the small blind, so it's about $150 profit for a hand in 1-3. I can't complain. We're almost back to even. Now we're down just about $50 in the session. We look down at king jack suited in the hijack. Make it $12 and we get the cutoff, button, and big blind to call. So 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 2-9. It checks to us, and I'd bet here if there wasn't a flush draw, so we'd have 4 outs to the nuts instead of 3. And maybe if we had a club ourselves in our hand, so we had some backdoors to go with our straight draw. But on this board, I decide to check, and it checks around. Turn is ace, bringing in the flush. It checks to me, and yeah, 4 ways. I'm just not going to bluff. I check, and it checks around. River is another ace, so it checks to me, and yeah, I'm just going to check. It gets to the button, and now he bets $20. This is the same old man that got all in 3 ways with ace queen off. He is just, yeah, a great player to have on a game because he's a lot of action, and it falls to me. And yeah, doesn't make much sense to me. I don't see people in these games going so thin for value that they'd bet with a 9. I think they'd just be happy to check it down when it's four ways. So yeah, being this player and we have the nut no pair hand, I do flick in a call and he shows 3-2 off for bottom pair, worst possible kicker. So I have no clue if he thought he was turning his 2 into a bluff or if he was trying to get value from king high because he has the worst possible pair. So the next best hand after his is mine. So he was or bluffing or trying to get value from kings. Either way, he just owns us in this one and takes it down. Next hand, we have 8-9 suited in under the gun 2. We make it $12 and we get the low jack, high jack, and small blind to call. So four ways to a flop. This time we hit a good board for real. It comes 7-9-9, so we have trips, plus just in case a backdoor straight draw and backdoor flush draw. It checks to us, and I decide to check since I've been checking every time when I don't have a hand. So if I bet here, I feel like it just looks super strong as if I do have a 9. I'd probably be checking aces, kings too, since we're going multi-way. It's very likely someone has a 9 and I want a pot control. And as well, the players after me are very action, so I wouldn't be surprised if it checks to them. They just decide to go crazy and try to bluff at it. So I do check, and the low jack bets $75. So he overbets on this board four ways. I definitely wasn't expecting that. It folds back to me, and I think I just have a call here. I never think he's doing this with the 8. And if I raise an overbet, it's just obvious I have one. And maybe he's just bluffing, so I don't want to just tell him I have an 8 and he'll just fold. So I just call. Turn is a king. I check, and now he checks back, so definitely not a 9. River's a 3, and I didn't want to check since I felt like he was always going to check back. It seemed like or he just had a bluff that's just going to give one shot at it with a big bet, or he has a 7 that he was trying to protect it, or maybe he had an overpair, 10s, jacks. I don't know if this guy 3-bets. I haven't played with him before. But anyways, I just felt like if I check, he's a check back. So I'll try to get a value. By the times he was just trying to protect his hand, but I don't want to make it too big. So I do the same bet he did. I make it $75, but he pretty quickly folds. This table is looking great. A lot of action. People getting stacked, so getting deeper and deeper. Right now, most of us are 200 or 300 blinds deep. On to the next, where we have 7-8 suited in the big blind. Cutoff makes it 15, and we call, so we go heads up to a flop. That comes queen 7-3, so middle pair, backdoor flush draw. I check, and he checks back. Turn is a 6, and I think this player will always bet his queens on a flop, so most likely he just missed, and I don't want to give a cheap price for him just to float with overcards to our 7, so I make it $20, and he folds. Now we're just 5-handed when we look down at pocket 10s in the hijack. We make it $12, and both the small blind and big blind call, so you go three ways to a flop. Flop is beautiful, 10-8-6. We flop the second nut since 9-7 is a straight. He checks to us, and we bet $15, trying to give value from straight draws, 8s, maybe super sticky bottom pairs. And small blind calls, big blind folds, so we go heads up to a turn. Turn is a king. He checks, and I bet now $30, hoping that maybe he's super sticky with an 8, or most likely I just think he has a straight draw. And once again, he does call. River is a 3, and he checks, and now I just think he has an 8 or a misdraw. So I decided to bet 25, trying to get the 8s to call, or maybe with this small bet, a misdraw is just going to spaz and just take it as weakness and raise. But none of that happened since he folds and we take down this pot. We went pretty card dead for the next half an hour until we looked on an ace queen off in the low jack. We make it 12, button calls. Now small blind goes all in, but it's just 28. I don't want to call and a button to call behind, so I 4-bet to 75. Button does fold, so let's see the run out. Flop comes 7, 10, jack. Turn is another 7, and river's a deuce, so not looking great, but our ace high is good, and we take down this small pot. Next one, we have king 9 suited in the hijack. Under the gun 2 limps, we make it 15, and we get the button, small blind, big blind, and limper to call, so we go 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 3, 5, 9, so top pair, king kicker, pretty good, unless they have ace 9 or a set, we're probably good here. Well, maybe 10s. I think jack's not 3-betting, but that could be as well. It checks to us, and I don't want to bet small here and give a price for people to float, so I make it $40, and a small blind and big blind call, so go 3 ways to a turn. Turn is an ace. That's not the worst since we're already losing against ace 9, and I bet big enough that I don't think people are floating, so maybe ace 5. But anyways, they both are pretty short. They have about 100. And with the size of the pot, I just put them all in. I bet $100 and they both fold. So happy with that once the ace came out and we take it down. Let's upgrade to ace king suited in the big blind. Under the gun 1 makes it 15. Hijack calls and he just has about 90. So time to raise it up. We make it 75 and under the gun 1 folds, but the hijack calls that is basically like going all in. He just has $15 behind. Let's see the flop. Flop comes 7, 5, ace. So we flop top top. We put in his last $15 and he calls. Turn is a 3. River's another 3. We show our ace and it's good. But he had 6, 7 for middle pair and a flush draw. So he had a good amount of outs. Thankfully, we hold. We're running good. Let's keep it going with queen jack suited in a small blind. There's one limper. Cutoff makes it 15. And usually we just fold or 3-bet from the small blind. But this time we decide to call and limper fold. So we go heads up to a flop. Flop comes jack 10 4. I check. He bets $20. And with top pair, we're not going anywhere. We call. Turn is pretty good. It's a 9, giving us a straight draw to go with our top pair. I check and he bets $50 and this felt very strong. He didn't seem like the type of player that would be bluffing with a flush draw. So all the value seems like is beating us unless we're chopping. So I'd consider being very tight and folding if I didn't have the straight draw. But we do. So we call hoping that we could improve on the river. And we do. River is a king, giving us a straight, but the flush comes in as well. I think for a little bit, I decided to bet $90 since I felt like all the hands we're beating are going to check back on such a scary river. And if he raises, I'm just going to fold, but I don't think he's betting that big on a turn with a flush draw. I see more as a protection on such a wet board. He tanks for a little bit and says, if you have it, you have it. So that sounds great. He calls, we show, and we're good. Once again, we got queen jack suited. We're playing 6-handed with a button straddle. Low jack, hijack, limp, small blind calls. We make it 45 and only the button calls. So we go heads up to a flop. Flop comes king, queen 3. So we have middle pair, backdoor flush draw. I c-bet for $35 and he calls. Turn is an ace. That was an interesting card since now we have a flush draw, but a queen is third pair. I wasn't sure if I should bet since if I do, I felt like I was turning my queen into a bluff. And I didn't know if I had to do that, especially since the pot is so big compared to his stack. I don't think I'd get him off of a king. There is the flush draw on the board from the flop, so we do want to get value from that. At the end of the day, I went for a check and he checked back. River is a beautiful 5 of spades, giving us the nut flush. And since it's the back door, it's pretty disguised. I want to bet big. I make it 150, hoping that he thinks I missed the front door flush and calls me with a king. But that's not the case since as I put the chips out, he folds pretty quickly and we take it down. Last hand of the session, we have ace jack off in a hijack. There's a button straddle to $6. We make it 25 and only the button calls. So we go heads up to a flop. Flop comes deuce, 8, 7. So definitely not the best board. I feel like it's better for his range since he's calling way wider than me. So I decided to check and he checks back. Turn is another 8 and I checks. It doesn't make sense to bet. I would bet a 8 on the flop and my ace may be good and he checks back. River is a 5 and yeah, I'm not betting on this run out. I think my ace is good a good amount of the time. He checks back and shows us the bad news with 4-5 for a river pair of 5s. And with that, we finish up our session. So let's rack up this stack, cash out, and see how we did for the day. Alright, so that was the end of our session. Pretty good. We started rough, as you saw, so down 200, but total we were in for 500 and we were out for 1,035. So a profit of 535. That's pretty great in 1-3 games. So yeah, I usually always play 2-5 and that's what I vlog, but there's some days that just they're not going on. That's why I usually vlog on Fridays. So let me know, did you guys like the 1-3 game or you just want 2-5? Because if you don't like it, I'll just make sure I only film when the 2-5s going on. But it felt fun since it's a very different dynamic. As you see, like in 1-3, it's so multi-way pots. So it's very different how I got to play. You know, a lot harder to bluff when there's 4 people. You just got to play way more straight up compared to 2-5 when you usually heads up or 3 ways. And as well, you start with 100 blinds compared to 200 when you play 2-5. So very different dynamics. So I thought it was fun to share that. So yeah, my plan is kind of do a mix of both of them. since I think they're very interesting in different ways. So I could have a mix of both of them on my channel. But let me know if you like. If you like 1-3 more, I'll film more 1-3. So whatever you guys like the most, I'll just film that. And yeah, as usual, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know what you think about any hand. I'm always happy to talk about them. And I'll see you guys next Sunday.